This news story was written by Derek Hawkins. Judge says Trump lacked authority to dismantle U.S. Institute of Peace. The government demonstrated a gross usurpation of power by forcing a takeover of the independent nonprofit, Judge Beryl A. Howell ruled. A federal judge in Washington ruled Monday that the Trump administration exceeded its authority when it dismantled the U.S. Institute of Peace, an independent nonprofit group created by Congress to help resolve violent international conflicts. U.S. District Judge Beryl A. Howell said the institute, while part of the federal government, was separate from the executive branch. Therefore, President Donald Trump lacked the power to terminate its board at will. The president's efforts here to take over an organization outside of those bounds, contrary to statute established by Congress, and by acts of force and threat using local and federal law enforcement officers, represented a gross usurpation of power and a way of conducting government affairs that unnecessarily traumatized the committed leadership and employees of USIP, who deserved better, Howell wrote in her 102-page opinion. Administration officials and members of billionaire Elon Musk's U.S. Doge service, aided by local and federal law enforcement agencies, seized the institute's privately owned headquarters in March and summarily removed its leaders. Soon after, they began terminating staff and programs, replaced the institute's president with a Doge agent, and transferred its headquarters to the General Services Administration. Howell said Trump violated the 1984 law establishing the institute when he terminated the board members, who may only be removed because of felony conviction or malfeasance, recommendation of the board majority, or a majority vote of 4 separate congressional committees. As a consequence, Howell said, all the other actions dissembling the institute were effectuated by illegitimately installed leaders who lacked legal authority to take these actions, which must therefore be declared null and void. The administration did not have lawful authority to enter the institute's headquarters, she said, nor the authority to transfer the building in downtown Washington to the GSA, which oversees federal real estate. That transfer is thus null and void, and plaintiffs maintain rightful ownership of property, Howell wrote. The institute's longtime outside legal counsel, George Foote, said the ruling would allow the ousted leaders, the plaintiffs in the case, and staff to resume their work and regain control of the building, which sits at the corner of Constitution Avenue and 23rd Street NW near the National Mall and the Lincoln Memorial. But he acknowledged that the government has 30 days to appeal Howell's ruling, and said he was awaiting word from the Trump administration about when his clients could return to headquarters. We're prepared to take control at a moment's notice, Foote said. Our security team is ready to go. The Justice Department did not immediately respond to a request for comment. White House spokeswoman Anna Kelly attacked Howell as a rogue judge and said her attempt to impede on the separation of powers will not be the last say on the matter. Kelly also faulted the institute, saying it failed to deliver peace. Trump targeted the institute for elimination in an executive order that included the dismantling of several other non-executive branch foreign aid and peacemaking agencies. Employees from DOGE, which stands for Department of Government Efficiency, took over the building with help from the Office of the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, the FBI, and D.C. Police. Institute officials had tried to convince DOGE representatives that such a takeover would be illegal, given the group's status as an independent organization and restrictions on the president's ability to remove board members. But officials from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia threatened those leaders with criminal investigations if they resisted. Several ousted board members then filed a suit. In March, Howell denied an emergency request to stop DOGE's takeover while the lawsuit proceeded, saying she needed to resolve confusion about the institute's independent status. Trump administration lawyers argued in court papers that the institute was part of the executive branch, and that restraints on Trump's ability to remove leaders amounted to unconstitutional interference with his executive powers. Similar constitutional questions involving Trump's ability to remove the heads of government agencies have come up in other high-profile legal challenges. Trump has broad power under the Constitution to appoint and remove top executive branch officials for any reason, but Congress has restricted that power over some independent agencies, such as the National Labor Relations Board or the Merit Systems Protection Board, to insulate them from political interference. The institute differs even from those agencies because it has no regulatory or enforcement authority. In her ruling, Howell sided firmly with the plaintiffs, saying Congress created the institute with the clear intent that it remain independent of the executive branch. She noted that no court had previously addressed that question. President Ronald Reagan signed the law creating the institute, with a mandate to help resolve violent international conflicts and provide independent analysis to Congress and government agencies. The institute does not exercise governmental let alone executive power under the Constitution, Howell wrote. Instead, USIP supports both the executive and legislative branches as an independent think tank that carries out its own international peace research, education and training, and information services. From the outset of the case, Howell expressed concern about how the administration and DOJ treated the Institute's leaders and employees during the takeover of headquarters. She said in court that she was offended that the administration had involved law enforcement officers, and she repeatedly questioned a government lawyer about whether the administration could have taken less extreme steps to accomplish its goals. Her ruling said the president and his subordinates used brute force and threats of criminal process against Institute leaders. The Institute's roughly 600 staffers are not government workers. All but a few have been barred from the building for the past 2 months, except for brief supervised visits to gather their belongings. The Trump administration fired about half of the staff without cause at the end of March. Some employees said they were offered severance and 1 month of health insurance in exchange for waiving their right to sue. Other employees have filed their own lawsuit, which is still pending before Howell. On Monday, some fired staffers gathered outside the Institute's headquarters to celebrate the ruling, even as they acknowledged that the path ahead was unclear. There's a lot of unanswered questions. It's not like a light switch you can turn back on, said one former employee, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid potential retaliation. Regardless of what happens next, it's essential for the functioning of democracy that injustices be acknowledged.
I applaud Judge Beryl A. Howell for acting swiftly and denying and blocking DOJ from illegally taking over the Institute, because DOJ is not appointed or has not been appointed by Congress, nor has it been established by Congress. Great job, Judge Howell. You're doing good work. Keep up the good work. That's gonna do it for today's for this legal breaking reporting and legal analysis video update. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy this video and legal breaking analysis update, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy. Firstly. Secondly, if you want to make sure you're always up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please consider hitting the bell icon as well as following me, the all notifications option. The bell icon, ladies and gentlemen, is located directly beneath the screen here on the right hand side of the subscribe button. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, if you also want to stay up to date on all the things legal breaking reporting wise on the side of politics, please follow me on my social medias. They will be linked down below in the video description. There I will be posting when I posted a brand new legal breaking reporting on the side of politics. Fourthly, ladies and gentlemen, please help me reach and achieve the goal of 170 plus subscribers. The reason why I am saying 170 plus subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, is because right after we reach right after we reach and achieve the goal of 170 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve right after we reach and achieve the goal of 170 subscribers. Fifthly and lastly, ladies and gentlemen, right after we reach and achieve the goal, fifthly and last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, please stay positive. Please stay safe, even though I know it's hard for you guys at times to stay positive during these unfortunate, illegal induced darkness times caused by the illegal, unconstitutional Trump administration, Trump regime. In no leg. Justice will prevail eventually on the correct side of the law despite Donald Trump and his illegal, unconstitutional regime and administration's illegal, unconstitutional executive orders, actions, and behaviors. Until my next illegal breaking reporting, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you guys in the next reporting.